Two German shepherds were found tied to a fence post on the side of a dark road, soaked through, with no collars and no chips, the night a pregnant woman's headlights happened to catch them. Everyone told her she was insane to take them. Everyone told her again, louder, when the baby came. Two 90-pound dogs and a newborn under the same roof was reckless, they said. It was a tragedy waiting to happen. Then a baby monitor caught what those two dogs were doing at 2:43 a.m. night after night, and the entire street had to admit they had been wrong about everything. Brooke Avery was 29, 7 months pregnant, and driving home alone down Ranch Road 2222 on the northwest edge of Austin, Texas, when her headlights swept across something near the guardrail, two enormous shapes low to the ground, in the rain. She told herself it was deer and kept driving. Then one of the shapes lifted its head and she saw the rope. She slowed, pulled onto a shoulder barely wide enough to hold her car, and stepped out into a cold March drizzle. Two German shepherds sat tied to a fence post, one solid black, one a long-coated sable gone dark and heavy with water. No collars, no tags, just a length of cheap nylon rope and two big dogs left in the dark on a road where the cars came around the bend at 55 miles an hour. The black one stood and put his body in front of the sable, watching her. The sable only stared up at her, shaking, wearing the expression of a dog that had run completely out of hope. Brooke was a labor and delivery nurse. She had spent her whole career deciding fast under pressure. She did not hesitate now. I can see you're here but still haven't subscribed, and that stings a little. Hit the button. What these two do at 2:43 is the reason I made this. She should have called animal control and waited. Instead, she untied the rope with cold, clumsy fingers, opened her back door, and the two soaked dogs climbed in, like they had been waiting their whole lives for someone to stop. The black one pressed his head against the back of her seat and would not stop trembling. The sable laid his chin on her shoulder for the whole drive home. She named them before she even reached her driveway. Gunner, the black one, the one who had stepped in front; Coda, the sable, the one who could not stop leaning on her. Her husband, Tyler, met her at the door and stared. Tyler was a firefighter who worked 24-hour shifts at a station off Loop 1, which meant for a full day at a time, Brooke would be home alone, soon with a newborn, and now with 180 pounds of unknown dog. "You're 7 months pregnant," he said, not angry, just stunned. "We don't know the first thing about these dogs." Brooke looked at the two of them dripping on the kitchen tile and at the way Coda had already moved to stand between her and the open door without anyone teaching him to. They were going to die out there, she said. That ended the argument before it really started. The vet found them healthy, microchip-free, and somewhere around 2 years old, two dogs who had clearly been somebody's once and then been thrown away. Gunner was the serious one, watchful to the point of comedy, a dog who counted every person in a room before he let himself lie down. Coda had simply never gotten the memo about his own size. He was a 90-pound animal who believed with his whole heart that he was a lapdog, and he would climb halfway onto the couch and onto Brooke and onto Tyler with the cheerful sincerity of a creature who had never seen himself in a mirror. The first time he tried to fold all 90 pounds of himself into Tyler's lap, Tyler laughed for the first time since the dogs arrived. It was the beginning of the end of his resistance. But it was the pregnancy that changed everything. As Brooke grew bigger through the spring, the two dogs grew quieter and closer. Coda began sleeping pressed against her belly, his back to her stomach, as though he were guarding something only he could hear. Gunner stopped lying in the middle of rooms and started lying in doorways, facing outward, like a sentry who had been handed an assignment nobody ever spoke out loud. Brooke would catch Tyler watching them do it, and she would watch the worry on his face turn slowly into something much closer to wonder. By the time Nora arrived, the two dogs nobody had wanted had already decided whose family this was. Nora was born in October, 6 pounds even, 3 weeks early, with a cry that could fill the entire house. And the warnings, which had gone quiet for a while, came roaring straight back. Tyler's mother said it outright at the front door before she had even held the baby. "Two dogs that size with a newborn? You are asking for a tragedy." The pediatrician gave the careful, professional version of the very same fear. The neighbors gave the looks and crossed the street with their strollers. And so Brooke, exhausted and anxious and alone every single night Tyler was on shift, did the thing that frightened new parents do. She mounted a small camera in the corner of the nursery. Not because she trusted Gunner and Coda any less, because everyone in her life had told her she should be afraid of them, and a tired, sleep-starved part of her had finally started to listen. What that little camera showed her, she was not remotely ready for. Nora was a brutal sleeper those first weeks, the kind of newborn who woke every 2 hours and screamed like the world was ending. And yet, by the third week home, Brooke realized she was somehow getting more rest than a new mother had any right to. She told herself she was just adjusting, settling into the rhythm of it. Then, one gray morning, half awake and feeding Nora at dawn, she scrolled back through the previous night's footage on her phone, and she finally understood what had been happening in the dark. Every single night, the moment Nora so much as stirred in her crib, Coda would rise from the floor and press himself gently along the bars, close enough that the baby could feel him there and hear him breathe. And over, Nora settled. She would whimper, find that slow, steady, enormous sound beside her, and sink back down into sleep. Gunnar had a completely different job. When Nora's cry climbed past a certain point, when it became the real cry and not the half-asleep one, he would get up, leave the nursery, pad down the hall to Brooke's bedroom, and nudge her awake. Only then, never for the small cries that Coda could handle on his own, only for the ones that truly needed a mother. The two of them had been quietly running a night shift for weeks, taking turns, covering for her, letting her sleep. Some things you witness on a grainy little screen at 6 in the morning stay with you for the rest of your life. This was one of them. Brooke showed Tyler the footage the next time he came off shift. He watched it twice, all the way through, without a word. Then, this man, a firefighter who had carried strangers out of burning houses, sat down on the nursery floor between two German shepherds and wrapped an arm around each of them, and his shoulders shook. He never questioned the dogs again, not once. Stories like theirs are exactly the reason these videos exist, and the night that would prove everything was still on its way. It came in February, when Nora was 4 months old and Tyler was on a 24-hour shift clear across the city. At 2:43 a.m., Gunnar did not nudge Brooke gently awake the way he had 100 times before. He hurled his entire body against her bedroom door, barking, frantic, relentless, a sound she had never heard from him. Brooke was on her feet and moving before she was fully awake. She found Coda standing rigid over the crib, refusing to budge, and Nora burning hot to the touch, her breathing fast and shallow and horribly wrong, her tiny chest caving in with every desperate pull of air. Brooke had been a labor and delivery nurse for 6 years. She knew the difference between fussy and dangerous in a glance, and this was dangerous. She had Nora bundled and in the car in under 3 minutes. She drove south on Mopac toward Dell Children's Medical Center with Gunnar's bark still ringing in her ears, and her daughter fighting for every breath in the seat behind her, and she ran 2 red lights doing it. The doctors used a word she would never be able to forget. RSV, advancing fast, the kind that can close down a 4-year-old's airway in a matter of hours. One of them looked at her and said it as plainly as it could be said. If she had slept even 1 more hour, they would be having a very different conversation right now. She had not slept that extra hour because a 90-pound dog that someone had tied to a fence post and left in the rain had decided somewhere on the dark edge of Austin that this family was his now and that he would never let anything happen to the smallest member of it. Today, Gunnar and Coda are 4 years old, and Nora is 2 and calls them her brothers and tries to ride them like horses. Coda still presses himself against her toddler bed every single night so she can hear him breathe. Gunnar still walks the hallway and still wakes Brooke only for the things that genuinely matter. Tyler's mother, the woman who stood in that doorway and called 2 dogs that size a tragedy waiting to happen, keeps a framed photo of them on her refrigerator now. The first time she came to the house after the hospital, she lowered herself onto the floor between the 2 of them and could not bring herself to meet Brooke's eyes. "I was so wrong about them," she said quietly. "People almost always are. When a dog locks onto something you cannot see, when its fear or its focus refuses to match the quiet of the room around it, do not explain it away. There is always a reason. They hear what we cannot and sense what we gave up a long time ago, and they live inside a world far louder and fuller than ours. Trust them. And if you are ever handed the chance to take in the ones the world has already thrown away, take it. Because the ones we call too dangerous, too big, too much, are so often the exact ones who end up saving us. Brooke did not rescue Gunnar and Coda off the side of that road. In the end, they were the ones who came to rescue her. Would you have stopped on a dark, rainy road for two huge dogs you knew absolutely nothing about? Or would you have driven on past them like everyone else had already had? Tell me in the comments.